Good morning children. In this video we are going to learn 8th history chapter 1 and introduction of modern history, that is when, where and how. Periodization of history. Historians categorize the past into the ancient, medieval and modern period for ease of study. The transition from the ancient period of Indian history started with the rise of the Harappan civilization and ended with the death of Harshavardhana. Decline of Mughal Empire. While the medieval period started with the death of Harshavardhana and ended with the establishment of British in India, the modern period of Indian history is believed to have begun with the decline of the Mughal Empire and the establishment of British rule in India in the 1750s. It continued till India won its independence in 1947. Thus, India was a colony of the British Empire for most part of the modern period. For this reason, this period is also known as the colonial period. The family of Mughal dynasty: Babur, Humayun, Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan and Aurangashi. Overview of the modern period in India. The rule of Aurangzeb, the last of the great Mughals, marked the beginning of the decline of Mughal rule in India. By the beginning of the 18th century, several independent region kingdoms came up. Europeans who had come to India as traders took advantage of this to establish colonies in different parts of the Indian subcontinent. Soon the Dutch, French and the British were engaged in a fierce competition over the flourishing trade in the subcontinent. Finally, it was the British who came out victorious. For the next 200 years, they ruled over most of the Indian subcontinent. What is colonialism? Colonialism is the practice of one country politically controlling and governing another country. People from the colonizing country and exploit it for economic gain. For example, when Britain colonized North America, Australia and India, people from Britain settled in these lands and exploited them economically. Impact of British rule. How the decline of the Mughal Empire and the rivalry between the rulers of the various Indian states helped the British gain a foothold in India. About the way in which the British came to power, how they annexed many princely states and formed laws and policies of their own foothold in India. About the impact of their rule on the economy, society and culture of India. About the independence movement starting from the uprising in 1857 till the day India gained independence on 15th August 1947. About the partitions of colonial India into India and Pakistan. Colonial surveys. When the British established their rule in India, they realized the importance of knowing the country well in order to administer it effectively. Thus, they introduced the practice of surveys through which they made detailed studies of everything new they encountered here. This included a thorough study of its history, languages, culture, topography, natural vegetation, wildlife and natural resources. They also made a detailed study of the different kinds of people inhabiting the land and classified them on the basis of caste, religion, ethnicity and occupation. Official records of the British government. The British have left behind a huge body of documents such as official letters and correspondence, government orders and acts. Documents provide glimpses of various aspects of British administration in India. However, these records focus only on the official point of view and do not provide much information on how the people of the country responded to the policies. In order to get a more objective view, we need to draw upon other sources such as literature, newspapers, and periodicals. Literature. Books and essays published during British rule in India are important sources of modern Indian history. In this record, writings of Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, Jatiro Bhule, Rabindranath Tagore, and Dinabandhu Mitra in vernacular languages are important, as they depicted the social problems of the period and the injustices meted out by the British. Autobiographies such as My Experiments with Truth by Mahatma Gandhi and Toward Freedom by Jawaharlal Nehru are also important to understand the nature of British rule in India. These writings inspired feelings of national pride in the Indians and encouraged them to join the fight for freedom against British rule. Newspapers and periodicals. Newspapers are valuable sources of information as they provide us with a chronology of events. They also give us an insight into the prevailing public opinion on a wide variety of political, economic, and social issues. Some of the earliest newspapers to be published in English in the 18th century were Hickey's Bengal Gazette, the Calcutta Gazette, the Madras Courier, and the Bombay Herald. Photographs and films. Photographs and films, the British made good use of photography, both as a tool to document life in India and as a hobby. Later, many Indians also took up photography. Photographs of the colonial era provide a vivid and authentic visual account of life of those times. Films, especially documentaries from towards a later period of the colonial period, also give us an insight into British rule in India. Places where sources are preserved. Sources for the modern period of Indian history are preserved in many places across the country as well as in the UK. Archives. Archives are institutions where different kinds of historical documents are preserved. The National Archives of India contains documents of Indian history from its ancient time. It is an important custodian of the records of the colonial period. Museum. Museum are institutions that preserve objects of scientific, cultural, and historical importance. The National Museum at Delhi and the Indian Museum at Kolkata and the CSMVS Museum at Mumbai are some of the well-known museums in India. The paintings, sculptures, coins, clothes, and manuscripts housed by the museum help reconstruct important historical events in the modern period. Libraries. Libraries are places where books are kept in preserved. The British Library in London contains the Indian Office records, a large collection of documents that deal with the administration of India from 1600 to 1947. The National Library of India in Kolkata also has many important documents from which we can reconstruct the history of the colonial era. Vernacular newspapers were an important mouthpiece of the freedom struggle. Bombay Samachar, Kesari, and Amrita Bazar Patrika were some of the prominent vernacular newspapers that reflect anti-British sentiments. Newspapers played an important role uniting Indians across far-flung regions and inspired them to the freedom movement. Thank you.